He's been in the race for just about 1 day now, and Bernie Sanders already has some bragging rights. The Sanders campaign saying this morning, in the 24 hours since he launched his second run for the White House, he's raised $5.9 million. The campaign says that came from 225,000 donors with an average donation of $27. What does this major haul say about the Democratic primary and the 2020 race at large? Joining me right now is a former independent senator from Connecticut, the former Democratic vice presidential candidate, Joe Lieberman. It's great to see you, Senator. Thank
you
for coming
too, Kate. Good to be here.
$5.9 million in 24 hours. That's a big haul for Bernie Sanders. What does it say to you?
Well, it's impressive. Also, the fact that it's not only a good number, it comes from average small givers. So it says that, notwithstanding the fact that Bernie has a lot more competition in this race than he did when he ran head-on against Hillary Clinton last time, and he's got competition on the left, he's still got an army there ready to support him. So, don't reach any conclusions that
I'm going to make
Bernie's
you reach conclusions. What do you think it says about the Sanders campaign this time around? As you point out, it's a different time.
Right.
We've got more competition. He's not the only liberal. He's not the only one going for the young voters.
Right.
What do you think this says about Sanders in 2020?
I think it says to his opponents and anybody else watching the Democratic race, which we all should be, that don't count Bernie out. Just because he has much more competition and he's got some that looks directly in his ideological turf, Elizabeth Warren, et cetera, Bernie he held the banner high last time, and there are a certain number of people who still feel that he's the real deal, the genuine article. So it's going to be a fascinating race, totally undecided.
One thing that we're seeing right now is, do you see this race as capitalism versus socialism? That's how Donald Trump would like to frame it, and I've also even heard some Democrats framing it that way as well. Do you see it that way?
Well, that's one of the issues that's going to be decided here. I mean, presidential nominating campaigns are really the major way in which American political parties say what they believe by who they nominate. Each party has a platform, but in America, the platforms honestly don't mean that very much. And one of the big issues again being raised, as Chris, it's come up throughout our history, is in a way capitalism, socialism. It's also how much power do we give to the government? Our government was founded by people a long time ago who are breaking away from the King of England. They were suspicious of too strong a national government, and that's been our way since.
So with that, do you think, the big things are coming up in the primary, Medicare for all, a Green New Deal on climate change, free college tuition, and free childcare in early childhood. Do you think the eventual Democratic nominee will need to embrace those themes to win the primary?
In fact, I think if the eventual Democratic nominee embraces all those specific programs, he or she's not going to have much of a chance to get elected because they're too much. Look, I believe we ought to have a new, greener platform plan to run on. One of my big disappointments of my 24 years in the Senate is that I didn't get to achieve more on climate change.
Yeah. You think it could sink them in the general, then?
Well, I think it could sink them, not because they want to do something about climate change or extending health care, et cetera, but they're trying to free tuition. You can't do it all, and you can't do it all because ultimately the taxpayers have to pay for it, and the rich people can't pay for it all because even though they're rich, most of the money in America is still in the middle class, and you don't want to overtax them because that hurts their opportunity to live a better life.
But it's a campaign, you can promise anything. That's one thing we've learned. But let me ask you, will you be endorsing anyone? You said the field's wide open right now. Will you be endorsing anyone in the Democratic Party?
Well, I don't know. Eventually, probably. But I'm also interested that Howard Schultz is running as an independent.
You're interested in him as well?
Yeah. Last time I got elected to the Senate as an independent.
This is true?
The two-party system in America needs to be shaken up.
You don't think that by him getting in, he gets Donald Trump elected?
Not necessarily. And it depends where we are when we get into next year and the election is closer. Schultz has said he wouldn't get into in a way that reelected the president. So we'll see. But this is all very healthy. And I hope most of all it moves our country toward the kind of unity in our politics where we're not just separating people into groups, but we're talking about the whole America.
It's a wonderful thought. I don't know if we're there yet in this current place.
Let's work at it.
Let me ask
pray.
you about the current administration.
Yes.
Because when the UN ambassador Nikki Haley had left her post, you were talked about as a possible to be on the short list. That position is now available once again. Would you like the job?
I'm not seeking the job. I certainly don't expect to be asked to do it. I have a rule, and I
don't know why you say that, because you were interviewed about the FBI post at one point.
I was interviewed about the FBI post. And I was quite serious. I never was asked about the UN job before. I don't expect it. I think probably the odds of me being nominated UN ambassador are about as high as me being asked to go to the Yankees spring training camp in Tampa.
So you're saying there's still a chance, to quote a famous movie. But if the president offered it, would you accept?
I'd certainly think about it seriously, but I don't think it's a realistic possibility. Look, public service.
I know that you're a longtime public
service is in my blood.
But serving under Donald Trump, being a cabinet level position has not been an easy thing for many under Donald Trump.
This is well stated, but I'm either fearless or foolish. So I think as a citizen, if the President of the United States asks you to consider serving, you've got to think about it seriously. But I do want to repeat, I'm not seeking it. I don't expect it. And I already hear talk about some other good candidates.